Okay, I think we might be live, but the website has like a super slow loading progress bar. And okay, I think we should be live now. Let's find out. Refresh. Not yet. Well, it shows live on custom live streaming service. I do see it there. Maybe not. Are we not live?
Yo.
Oh, hey.
Hi.
Hello. Hey. Give me 1 second. I'm
No
trying to
rush,
figure
man.
out. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if we're currently live.
It looks like it from here.
I know, right? Like it looked like it, but I don't see it on my page.
Okay.
Um, okay, I think I know what's going on. So we are currently live. Okay, so one thing I wanted to mention, I think oh, let me turn on my video. I would like to actually go back to editing these and then uploading them after the fact.
Sure.
And that's based on just looking at the data. Like YouTube, like doesn't really push the live streams to that many people after the fact, which kind of makes sense, I think.
You got it.
Yeah, and then the other ones get like thousands more impressions. So
Sure.
um,
Whatever you're comfortable with, man. I mean,
okay, cool. And then that
so-
also allows like just a little bit more kind of feeling of freedom. Like maybe something could go wrong here that could be edited out or
did he use
whatever.
bad language? Beep.
Yeah, well, something like that. I don't
I
think
try.
that's a
I try
problem.
to be a good boy on these.
Right. Okay,
Press that
cool.
up.
So, let's see. Over the last week, I've added in Broward 5. I have also restarted something that I used to do, and I'm curious of your thoughts. It is an idea of like a monthly concert, basically. Just like once a month, perform everything I have. This cat is going to be super annoying if I don't let her in right now. So just, yeah, like kind of trying to simulate like performing at a restaurant or like gigging of some sort, which I should do properly, like actually start gigging. But that's kind of hard to do. And at least right now with YouTube, I have an audience and a platform
Yeah.
somewhat to do that.
And I'll tell
So,
you, I mean, I'm going to kind of give a plug to the Connecticut Guitar Guild for this
yeah,
because their monthly meetings
yeah,
are perfect opportunities for that. So for anyone in the audience to do, like, if you're in Connecticut, that's a great thing to do. But
true.
um, utilizing any of the advantages the societies offer for those kinds of things, members, parties, whatever, that gives
Yeah.
you, because that the cool thing about that is like with the weekly master class at heart, even if we're not talking,
Hmm.
as if we're doing it like a master class, just to have that weekly opportunity for performance. And for some students, it's like every other week, right? But to know
Right.
that like on the calendar, like, oh man, it's the 29th is coming up. So I've got these beautiful deadlines set for
Yeah.
yourself. Um, and then it also for, everyone kind of out there, it's like, well, it's a chance to grow your guitar community, you know?
Totally. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so I'd throw
So,
that in there as well, you know?
yeah, I want to make sure that this gets recorded, so I just clicked record as well.
Yeah, you
But
good.
I mean, I like that, but then the problem is that like you can only play one thing, I guess. Like
Sometimes, yeah.
I really
Sometimes.
mean like a 45-minute concert or
Oh,
something.
well, that's
Like,
a whole different ball game, and you can do that kind of at your of
yeah,
your own volition. If it's a gig, it's great,
yeah.
to be able to do. Gigging now is very different than when I started gigging in '89,
Uh-huh. That's when I was
right?
born. That's
Oh
cool.
God.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to start pointing out all of the right.
Yeah.
Um, the way that there are lots of ways to approach it. I don't necessarily think there's a way, right?
Yeah.
And in
Hmm.
fact, sometimes a multitude of ways is what actually works out the best. What we used to do, and at least what I did, um, I got some business cars made.
Hmm.
Now I was 14, so I didn't drive, and
Hmm.
my parents would literally just drop me off with a guitar, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd, say, could I speak to the manager, please? And I'd just tell them, hey, I'm interested in playing.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in having me? And sometimes it was no, and sometimes it was yeah, but we can't pay you. Every
Mm.
once in a while it was, yeah, but would you do it for dinner
Right.
and tips,
Right.
right? And again, I'm a
Yeah. Yeah.
14-year-old
Yeah.
year-old kid, man. So at that point, it was, being
Mm-hmm.
fed and doing it for tips. Obviously, if we're doing that in our teens, 20s, 30s now, it's a totally different bag. But being able to find
Yeah.
an agreeable price, a
Mm-hmm.
fee
Mm-hmm.
that you're comfortable with, because if you're not living on, like I lived off that from like 18 till I stopped when I was 28.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was every
Cool.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, like
Mm.
for
Mm-hmm.
14 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Now it's just New Year's Eve,
Okay.
down at this one restaurant in Fredericksburg, the Alpine Chef.
Shout out
But
to
shout out to the Alpine Chef in Fredericksburg, Virginia. But
yeah.
that approach
That's cool.
now can be done through email, can be done a
Yeah.
lot of different ways. And the fact that you have content on your page, you don't actually have to show up and invest any time
Yeah.
into that process. The fee part, that's very just personal. If it's a one shot deal, you can charge a little bit more. But
Yeah.
if you're looking for something more regular,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you can be far more negotiable with your rate.
Mm.
It could be something that seems a little low, even because if you know that you've got, hey, I'm doing this like every Friday this month,
Yeah.
then
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to charge as much. It makes it a little bit more of an enticement for the establishment.
Mm.
And for you, it's
Yeah.
paid practice, man.
Yeah, just starting out, just getting the practice reps in there, just more experience performing for a live
Yeah.
audience with multiple people watching, with some sort of feeling of stakes, that there's
Mhm.
some high stakes. And yeah, for my channel at least, it's like, oh, this is recorded and this is gonna forever be published. So that kind of like brings in the adrenaline a
Mhm.
little bit, which is good, I think. But like, okay, then I could just say
Mhm.
the pieces that I'm currently have on my like rotation for
Okay.
that.
Let me write them
Um,
down.
yeah, and I can also let's see, maybe it'd even be good if I share my
Oh, if
screen.
you want to do that, that'd
Um, yeah, I think that'd be
be
pretty
fun.
good
I don't have to write
actually.
anything down.
Yeah, maybe I'll just share my whole desktop. Oh wait, one thing I want to make sure audio comes through in case we do watch a video or anything like that. Okay, share sound. Um, okay, so in Chrome, I've got a nice extension because I can't believe Google Docs still doesn't have dark mode properly, but which is insane. I'm gonna have a lot of hot takes about Google in this whole series. So one thing I want to make sure: can you hear tapping right now?
Yeah.
Like, okay, great. So I upgraded my microphone also.
Oh, what are you
Sorry,
using now?
H4. It's an H4 Zoom.
Yep.
They refreshed them to like this new Essential
Hmm.
line. Um, I'm in love with it instantly. I used to use an H4n in the
Hmm.
past, but it had like a mini USB connection that would
Right.
get really faulty. This one now has USB C. The software is a lot better.
It
Um,
sounds great.
I think it's super good. I think I've always really preferred the sound of these microphones to the Shure dynamic one that I had. And then what I like about this is that it can future proof and act as a better audio interface than a Scarlett because like down the line, if I do want to get microphones, it has two
Yeah, it's got
inputs.
your XLRs built in.
Yeah, yeah, and it has two inputs even.
Yep.
So down the line, like if I upgrade the mics, I can still use it as a interface, and I can
Yep.
still use it as like a portable recorder.
Yeah, those things have been for me top of the hill since for years.
Yeah,
The only reason I'm not using those is just because of the recording stuff I do and the four inputs. So I just have that
yeah,
here. Otherwise, I would have just stuck with the Zoom,
yeah. It's
you
really
know.
cool.
But it sounds
Okay,
great. All right, what
Great.
do we see?
So, let's see. This part, let's see. So, this is some notes. I just wanted to mention that I did just upload this take four on Barrios False 3.
Okay, cool.
I wanted to mention the things that are currently like improving, the things that I'm currently performing, that I'm currently working on. So, in the recital, which I could pull up in this other tab somewhere. Also, another thing, I've got this awesome extension that hides everything from YouTube to get rid of all the addictive, annoying stuff. So I'd
That's
be
cool.
happy to set that up for you anytime. It's amazing. It gets rid
Okay,
of
yeah.
like the suggested videos and other things too. Anyway, so we've got Bach cello suite prelude.
Mhm.
That's in rotation. Bach 999, Carcassi Etude 14, Capriccio Arabe, Julia Florida, Valse 3. Just performing all of the Brouwer studies. I've added in five since this was recorded as
Good.
well, and also Villalobos Etude 2.
Okay.
That one is, it's it's still a work in progress, but I can get through it
Well, when
fairly
we
well.
started talking about that, we knew that that was going to be a very long-term project, just because
Yeah,
of the how long it takes to be able to play it,
yeah, yeah,
and to get those under your fingers. So no, that's cool. I'd like to see where that's at.
yeah. I'd love to perform that. I mean, we could maybe do
That's
it
good.
today, but yeah. Then I've got whoops, wrong tab. All right, so this one. Yeah, yeah. I wanted to mention, like, in terms of etudes, I currently see these really as the
Mhm.
ones that I'm currently actively working on. Every now and then I touch on these Aguado ones still, or like
Good.
the slurry. I forgot to write that down, but slurry is also really cool. Same with El Calibri, but those are mostly paused. Generally, like, I don't think I have anything that I'm actively learning at the moment. Like, I think of that as like learning the notes.
Hmm.
I definitely know all the notes in Etude 2. That one's definitely in an improving stage. I feel like Vaults 3 is currently in this polishing, maintaining, performable kind of state right now. And yeah, like I wrote down some of my backlog, like of pieces that I've played in the past, ones
Hmm.
that I'd like to talk about, like what does a path look like to like when should I start picking up some of these other ones. Um,
In terms of what you have in the backlog.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, I guess one question is first just like, do you think that Vaults 3 is now in the state where like I shouldn't be like putting all of my energy into it, or do you think that there's a
It's
lot
it's
more?
definitely in your maintain and improve
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
category, right? So you're well past the learning phase of it. You're utilizing that for two purposes. One is to make sure you're integrating the improvements you're making in the right hand into the piece itself, and at the
Right.
same time trying to refine it to a greater degree. So I
Uh-huh.
would say that it's in your refining zone.
Yeah, okay.
And
Uh-huh.
when you have other pieces that you're going to start to focus on, then you can have it move off to the side into your maintain and improve general category. But it's like, what are you trying to do with a particular piece in the stage that you're in? Because the last time I heard it, I thought it sounded pretty darn good. And we're utilizing your rep in ways to create a more consistent and uniform sound. And at the
Hmm.
same time, also like, let's, take some of these and kick it up to the next level. Right.
Right.
So
Right.
I'd say, yeah, I mean, definitely in the polish slash maintain.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Then that's great. That's yeah, that's how I see it, and like I feel I should probably add something into the learning, like
That's always based on time.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
So if we're thinking about that X amount of time, and I'm just going to use 2 hour block just because it's easy, the
Hmm.
math's easy. Okay.
Hmm.
But if you're practicing 2 hours a day,
Hmm.
immediately 30 minutes minimum is going to be for technique, right?
Hmm.
Like 25% of your time is technical development. So that would give you, 15 minutes on scales and 15
Hmm.
minutes on arpeggios. All of a sudden, wait a minute, in 2 hours, that
Yeah.
doesn't feel like a lot,
Uh-huh.
right? And so if we're utilizing that, how much
Mhm.
of that time now is going to be spent? Because when you look at all those pieces, man, like you're not going to certainly on an hour and a half a day be able to hit everything, right?
Right.
That's why we
Definitely.
went to an alternating 2 day or 3 day rotation on your pieces.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Back when you were doing when you were getting ready for the wedding and you were doing
Oh
this
yeah,
piece and this
yeah.
piece, and so it was
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
day A, day B on those pieces. So to take
Mhm.
that a step further,
Mhm.
learning new music is important, obviously, and you can certainly give yourself a certain amount of time just to be absorbing and digesting new music, but
Uh-huh.
not
Uh-huh.
entire read throughs. So let's say you're going to take,
Mhm.
well, any of the Regandi studies, any Giuliani, you're going to learn sight read studies. Great. Maybe you want to go through, you know, Andrew York, Roland Dion's, any of these things, and it's like, let me
Mhm.
just work on these 4 bars for
Mhm.
5 minutes
Mhm.
or anything
Mhm.
like that, just so that you've got new content coming in for a very limited amount of time. But
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
be honest with you, for what you just, we're talking about,
Mhm.
you don't need to be learning anything new because the majority of
Mhm.
your time is going to be spent in that polish and maintain the pieces that you already have. And now that time is going to be, let me get these other pieces back up into the
Yeah.
forefront. And that's just a time eater. So I'd say, no, you
Yeah.
don't need to have anything in the learning phase.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I think I am mixing like different perspectives at once because I agree with everything you just said. And one thing I was going to say is like maybe I should be just bringing back older pieces that I've previously learned and just work on polishing, I guess, because I think with a lot of these that are pretty dusty, like if just relearned and kept improving things that I already know, like I feel like I've got like 2 hours of music. I didn't write everything
Easily,
here. Yeah, yeah.
easily
And
two
it's
hours
all
of stuff
like,
that you can play.
yeah, it's all really great music. And I'd
If you're
like to,
talking about doing any kind of performing beyond like on a show, like we had mentioned, a showcase
mm-hmm,
type event, like with your local society or something, yeah, then you've got like one piece that's in the forefront. But if you've got more than that, then you're going to require far more time weekly to be able to get through everything on a rotation,
yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
I would say that let's imagine that 2 hour block again, 30 minutes for technical development. Now you
uh-huh,
got 30 minutes on 3 pieces.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And so you can be on day A, be doing 3 pieces.
mm-hmm,
Day B, perhaps one of those pieces is going to require, like any Bach is going to require daily maintenance,
mm-hmm.
right? Any Bach.
Okay.
So now you've got one of those pieces for the time being. That would be an everyday thing, while you had slot 2 and 3 become something else on your second day and then go back, so that you're constantly back and forth with them. It can keep your interest level up. It seems a little counterintuitive because it's like, well, wait a minute, shouldn't I be doing all of these every day?
No, definitely not.
Right.
It's
That'd be
too
like,
much. Yeah.
constantly working arms in the gym every day. Some pieces
Yeah.
you can hit multiple times.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
then you'll know also, hey, no, I'm doing really well with Bach 999. I can
Mm-hmm.
do that twice a week.
Right, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I took the Prelude Fugue and Allegro as an example, that Allegro is every day. If I'm
Uh-huh,
playing
uh-huh.
that piece, that Allegro is every day, whether I want it to be or not. It is.
Mm-hmm.
The Fugue, this is for me. Some people have struggled with the Fugue and they're fine with the Allegro. The Fugue for me would be A section one day, the B section another day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
But whereas the Prelude could be once or twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's mapping that out. I love the list. So decide on out of your list and the
Yeah.
stuff that you didn't have on there.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
What else you would like to have starting to bring up towards that goal of having
Mm-hmm.
what I would consider a half recital, like 30 minutes.
Yeah. I feel like goals would be things like Asturias
Okay.
someday. I mean, I want to do it when
You had done that
technique
before you
is,
came to me,
yeah,
right? I can't recall.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I did a series, and they were like the piece was like a stretch
Hmm.
for me, like the same way that the Chacon was a stretch
Hmm.
or something. But I recorded a bunch in 2020, and yeah, I mean, I had it fully memorized. I could play it fairly decently, I think. I I think that that one's far enough in the past that maybe the bad habits that I might have had with form maybe is not still
If
there
you're
because
anything
like
like me, they're just waiting for you.
yeah,
I
just to
mean, when
get
I was
in
younger,
okay yeah
if there was one thing I did, and I didn't play that
hmm
piece for like 5 years, as soon as I picked up that piece, the chops may have been better, the sound may have been better,
uh-huh.
but whatever I was doing was still baked into that piece. It wasn't as
Okay,
bad, obviously, right?
yeah
And I'm sure you've had the similar experience. Um,
uh-huh
so
hmm
let's say that it is Asturias that you want to do. You've got in the A section
hmm
PIM,
hmm
PMI, and PIA.
hmm
So you want to have a study where you can do either one study or three studies, whatever. Um, if you can find one study that allows you to just morph it, cool.
hmm hmm
If you need like something out of Giuliani Opus 48 has a PMI, Brower 3 is a great one for that. Um, so that you can say, all right, I can do this now at 160, which would be 80 to the tempo. Great. So that way you can be working those three arpeggios in that A section outside of that piece.
right
Just like what we've been
hmm
doing with the Brower studies to date.
yeah
Cool. I think that
okay
would be really fun to hear.
yeah
So speaking of Brower,
sure yeah let's hit Brower 5 or do you
five, and
want to
then but I'll tell
revisit
you what I'd love to do is
uh-huh.
can we go through all that you've done
Yeah,
so far just in a row
I think that'd be
as
cool.
a
Yeah,
performable unit?
sure. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm going to pull the score up on my screen, so I'm going to shut my camera off while you play.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I performed a bunch in a row the other day, and it's fun to perform them. I mean, it's edgier music. I feel like the audience kind of dissipated at that point. Like, what is this? What's going on?
As soon as they,
But
some folks, when they hear Brower 3, they're like, what is that? But,
yeah,
4 and 5,
I
a
think that
lot of
they're
people like
lovely.
them. That's cool.
Yeah. 5 is really fun in particular. I think like I haven't played that in forever, but yeah. Okay. Cool. I haven't touched the other ones today, but I think it'll go okay. We'll see.
Well done. Nice, straight through. I mean, very accurate playing. Give yourself a little more time before you start six,
Yeah,
and
that
and it
one.
won't feel as rocky when you
Yeah.
start, just because you
Mm.
got a little bit more preparation for what you're about to do. But talk about real world distractions, man. You got to watch out for when those cats jump up on stage.
Yeah. Did she jump
Right?
behind me? Did that happen?
Yeah.
I was distracted by the headphones. I'm still getting used to playing with them on. It
It
feels
it
like,
took me,
yeah,
I don't know, maybe a week of teaching online using them like this.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
then it actually feels weird if I'm online without them now,
Yeah,
you know?
for me, it's like only once a week, like during
Yep.
this. So maybe I'll just practice with them on more.
You know,
Yeah.
one of the things as you prepare to either record or perform in concert, one of the things that I do and that I recommend everyone do, and at least
Mm-hmm.
once a week as you're gearing up for that performance,
Mm-hmm.
set up your gear to record audio. I mean, video is fine if you're going to do your stream,
Mm-hmm.
but just take your Zoom, plug your headphones right into it, and play with them on so you can monitor, so you can hear what you're
Yeah.
doing in your headphones.
Mm-hmm.
And man, you will hear some things that are going to make you want to quit playing, right? It's like the
Uh-huh.
first time anybody ever records and you're sitting there listening to the takes or even monitoring your practice that way, monitor.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, God, this is so awful. Well, the microphone's like right there. I mean, your
Yeah.
audience's ear is like 30 feet away.
It picks up everything.
Every little click. But one of the
Yeah.
things about playing with either less or almost no nail click and placement
Mm.
came from just practicing for an hour with
Hmm.
the headphones on, because you start making
Mm.
subtle adjustments to your playing
Mm. Mm.
because those elements are so pronounced in what you do. So it's kind of a great thing to do in preparation for a recording or a live performance.
Mm-hmm.
But not all the time, because you can get sucked in to this weird zone where you're used to listening to music recordings on headphones. I do anyway a lot, and your expression can go down
Hmm.
without you really knowing it, because you're so absorbed by the soundscape of what you're hearing. The tones, the noises, the squeaks, all that stuff. And so it's easy to kind of play less musically, in
Hmm.
a regard. So there's a couple of things we're going to talk about. I thought that was very, very good. I mean, that was pretty accurate playing, man. It was really good. There was a nice contrast of dynamics, especially in number two, that came through real nice. Okay.
Hmm.
So I'm going to jump around a little bit. So I
Hmm.
want to start with four.
Okay.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I noticed has to do with the alignment of your left arm. And I should have come
Uh-huh.
on like 5 minutes sooner and gotten my camera set up better. There we go. So go ahead and start just the first two bars of number four.
Okay.
Great. Now, when you watch your video, as we go through and edit your video for
Hmm.
this week, look at where your arm is in
Okay.
relationship to what you're doing with the hand. Your hand looks great. All right. I mean,
But
it really looks
more
good.
should it be more in
No,
or okay?
so this is where we can kind of jump off a cliff
Hmm.
in terms of what we're trying to do. And I'm trying to get it so you can see my arm a little bit better. There we go. Don't think about where it should be in an intellectual way, like it should be out here or in here.
Uh-huh.
What I want you to do is get that bar
Uh-huh.
and just let the arm swing for a second, just kind of like a pendulum back and forth. And then you'll feel where the weight stops.
Yeah. Okay.
That's your left arm choreography for that chord.
Uh-huh.
That way, if that's your starting place, now if you need, let me turn my original sound on. When you need to rotate slightly in to assist your third and fourth fingers, you can. What I
Uh-huh.
noticed is your arm was a little further out,
Okay.
a little bit
Okay.
more like this.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do this. Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
that's not a bad thing when you need it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? It's when you don't need it,
Mm-hmm.
you're engaging a lot of the head of the shoulder,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
bringing it out like that. So, like
Uh-huh.
for a B7 chord, if we're doing a good old like cowboy chord, B7. Yeah, your arm should be out like that so that you can keep the alignment of your wrist and everything's good out there.
Right.
So this is something you can do before you start. And this, like with number 6, can also be those moments where you're preparing, where you're just kind of taking a second and feeling the weight of the arm. So now when you start, like your fingers are right over the notes you need, right? So go ahead and do me a favor, make a fist. Good. Now, check the alignment of your wrist for a second. Some people, when they make a fist, think of this as a straight line. I want you to think of this as a straight line.
Okay.
So that you're going to see some curvature in the groove in the heel of your palm and the wrist.
Okay.
This is a little bit more. Now just let your hand open. And that's how you can kind of judge an alignment, is you got that straight. And then as soon as you open your hand, you'll notice there's a tiny little bit of arch that pops in there. Okay. Yeah, that's it. If you find the hand falling back a little bit, we've got an under arch. Now, if there's no tightness like this, that's cool if there's no tightness there, but at the same time, what we do is we're losing leverage. So the more underarched the wrist becomes, the more work the fingers have to do. Even though it's so minimal, we don't notice it. You know what I mean? It's not like we're playing real loud or real fast, so we don't kind of notice it. So you want to try to keep that wrist aligned so that when the fingers open, they're really just right above the notes you need. Yeah, that looks great. Okay. That's awesome. So that way, we're not intellectually saying, well, the arm points this way or that way. It's really based on your anatomy. So I may have a student, when they do that, I mean, let's say that they got, big lats because they're in the gym all the time. This may be where their arm drops to. Everybody's a little different in that regard. So that's the way the technique works by the process rather than, somebody saying, let me make my arm look like that. That looks great. So now go ahead and do those first 2 measures again. Great.
Yeah, it feels a little different. I think my arm's in a different place.
But it is.
I feel how move the arm and then just let it settle.
Yeah. Just let it hang.
Yeah.
Because this way, depending on the chord shape or scale that you're playing, that will change. So if I was doing it like a bar chord, you can see how the hand really didn't change much at all, right? But when I just let that arm drop, the principles are all still there. We've got a good alignment of the wrist, everything. But the arm is in a different spot. A minor looks like that. E major, there's that slight drop as I move up. That way everything's just chilling. And this also is a very good beginning of vibrato. So if we've got that arm loose, as we start developing vibrato more, it's hard to vibrate when you're out here. We're not playing cello. Okay. It's like a sideways cello. Right? So the only thing right here, do you want to let that F bleed into that A?
Not.
Well, it's a chord tone, so it sounds cool. But what happens is we move from this homophonic texture of hearing just a clear bass line and to this.
Yeah.
So do we want this? Or this? I'll tell you what I think, but I think this is something for you to decide for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, now that you pointed out, I really think damping it.
I'm just going to release the pressure.
Release it, yeah.
So the finger's still in place. I just switched the pressure from 3 to 2, and it clears your line up a little bit.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right? Go ahead and give it a shot. That's nice.
Yeah.
That was really good. And the second thing that it did is it keyed you in a little bit to when to let go. rather than where we end up like slicing a little bit of that C and the F off. That sounded really clear, man. That was good. That was very good. And any place in there where you have the ability to create multiple voices accidentally.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're doing... Right.
Okay.
So like that F, what does that measure? 4? Yeah, nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very good. I would say the only other spot offhand that I'm thinking about would be the transition measure. What is that, 9? 8 is this one. We can kind of let things get a little blurry where we layer too much instead of... Right. So all you're really doing is just fine-tuning your articulation. How long do I want those to ring? And let me tell you, if you ever get to a spot where you really can't tell much of a difference, then don't like start obsessing over it. That if you can't tell much of a difference, then just pick one.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because the bottom line, especially with another reason why these are such good pieces for this. One of the greatest issues I know I made as a younger player was not making active decisions in how I wanted to play something. And I don't necessarily mean cerebrally. What I mean is when there were moments like that, I didn't make a choice. So I just kind of whatever and kept going. I tried to make it sound good. I tried to have a good tone, tried to do this and that. But if I didn't sit there and go, no, I want to hear that line without that, then stuff starts happening, like decisions start getting made for you. And you don't know why something sounds the way you don't want it, right? But that would be the first step. So going through anywhere you find a spot like that where the melody notes can come together to create a chord, just address it and ask yourself, do I want those to come together there or not?
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm going to jump around a little bit. One I thought sounded pretty good. What I would like you to try to do with one, the knuckle alignment for your hand, it's not bad. I'm like, this is how well you're playing them. I'm getting really picky, right?
Great. Yeah.
The knuckle alignment for your I&M is a little, for me, too direct above the string. Okay. So let me explain what I mean by that to anybody who's listening. I'm trying to be very attentive to your audience. All right?
Yeah.
There are two general ways that you can think about knuckle alignment, and some people do it based off the base knuckle, right? I do it off the mid-joint knuckle. We end up different process, same process with just a different point of reference. Okay, the mid-joint knuckle for a free stroke should be directly above the string or slightly in front of it, or for me, it's like over the string in front of it because of the length of my fingers. So if I'm looking, my I mid-joint knuckle is over the second string.
Okay.
That's a pretty good...
Mid-joint being this one.
Yep.
Right?
So you got your base knuckle joint, your mid-joint, and your tip joint.
Okay.
The only one that's different is your thumb, because this is the base joint on your thumb.
Okay, right. Okay.
A lot of people think your thumb starts there.
Yeah.
But there's your base, mid, tip.
Oh, okay.
Right?
That one's considered mid. Okay.
Yeah, so the one that looks like the start of the thumb is actually your mid-joint.
Got it. So for me, the mid-joint is like past the first string. So
if you're on...
Does that sound right? Like
if it's on your... If you're placed on G and B, it's over your first string. It's way past it.
It's beyond it, yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
it should be over the second.
When so, like, do you want me to pull my arm back to do that? So
what I want you to do is make a fist. Stick out your thumb and place it on the fourth string.
Yeah.
Then let your fingers fall to 3 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's your knuckle placement.
So
Now reach back with your thumb.
Yeah.
So where does that put them?
I mean, my fingers didn't move when I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it didn't move much.
So does that put that mid joint a little bit over the string in front of it rather than 2 strings in front of it?
The mid joint's still beyond. I mean, if it's like a perpendicular line, like coming
Yeah.
out of the guitar face,
I'll give you I'll try to give you an angle. This is directly above 3 and 2. Right? So my mid joint is directly above the string I'm playing.
Yeah, so
You can still get a good free stroke out of it. Right?
Okay, like your finger is more vertical than I think.
It's kind of like if you draw a straight line down, excuse me, a straight line down from that mid joint knuckle, you can see how it's like straight perpendicular to that string.
Okay, yeah.
What for me, it's a little bit more that mid joint knuckle's a little over the string in front of the one I'm doing. So if I'm playing the third string, then my mid joint knuckle's over the second string.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Now,
for me to achieve that, I need to really pull my arm back.
That's
okay. I mean, it's just like.
Now we can get a little crazy with this because it's not like a precise GPS location.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like a satellite over time, right? What we want to do though is find where, when you place your thumb on that fourth string and let your fingers fall, where do those knuckles end up? Are they directly over the string, or where are they?
It is that position that I was first in, I
Okay.
think, where it's like the mid joint is, yeah, like beyond the first string.
Okay. Now keep your thumb here and just play those as a free stroke. Yeah, and just I and M, like for Brower 1. That right there is your most neutral tone that you're going to get. It's not too bright and it's not too dark. This way, if you do this based off the 6th string, you'll always come in shy and we'll get an unintentionally brighter or thinner sound with our accompaniment because we're reaching. So that knuckle placement has changed. So if here's where you are, even if you're over here, that's fine, right? It really comes down to if I'm going to line up P, I, and M on those 3 strings, because that's my accompaniment, how are they when I just let everything fall right out of the hand? And that's your neutral tone. Now you can maintain that position and just reach back for your E. That's better, yeah. That way we don't end up having attention drawn to the accompaniment color-wise. Right, so like this. You can hear how that's grabbing your attention more. And I'm not hitting it louder. Versus, I didn't hit it any louder, but the color came out of the mix a little bit more, right? So this is the kind of this is the nitty gritty stuff that's so cool about the way that we play. So if you take a second before you start and just establish your hand position there. Now just reach back for the E.
Right.
And then you'll be able to keep that accompaniment kind of in a certain color zone where it's not going to interfere with that. But if it's too bright, your ear is immediately drawn to that, even though I'm playing my thumb louder. Small little thing. Now, I thought the tempo was fine, but if you want to start moving it into a little bit more of a groove zone, right? Let me grab a metronome. Let me grab a Mujo.
Yeah.
It is my favorite metronome, man. It's not a shameless plug. It just...
It means a lot. Is the sound okay for you? Because that's a common complaint.
Nah.
People want like a wood clack.
Nah, I don't.
Really?
I want the most harsh, piercing tone that I can get.
Yeah.
Because if it's too pleasant, like I have a Dr. Beat from years ago, and I can't remember the model number, but it was the old Dr. Beat where the voice was like 1, 2, 3.
I've got one of those. Yeah.
The newer model that came out after that, Sounded like James Bond's BMW that, Guten Tag, Herr Joe. It's just like where all of a sudden it was really too nice.
Yeah.
I want it to be like a metal
Harsh.
bar.
Yeah,
Tink,
yeah,
tink,
right.
But that's just me. So now, if we're looking for right around 138, 140, the piece takes a little bit of a different character.
Cool.
Right? But no, there's no too slow. He just says movido. He doesn't say 160 BPM.
Yeah.
Right? So as long as you have that, it's forward direction. But there's something cool that happens around that tempo where it really starts to bounce. Right? And so I would say aim for like 138 to 144 for the coming lessons. Okay?
Okay.
2, awesome. This is where you can get awesomer, to use a professional term. Right? This is where you can start to explore color more because we have the time to do it. So thinking not so much a color matching a dynamic, but a color matching a mood. Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, you can get they're very open sounding chords without a whole lot of crunch. Right? We're not like I would play that whole first phrase as dark as you can. And that way you create that mood right off the bat. Try it.
Okay.
Nice. See, right away there's something to me when I'm listening to you that's more inviting about the color you're creating. It's not like what you did was bad, but now you're being really See, that's the thing about artistry, right? We're not trying to be artistes, but it's like I'm not just going to throw blue on there. I can't see blue, but if I could, you're going to like say, well, I want that blue mixed with a little white or a little black, or I'm looking for a particular shade. Mm-hmm. You may not know what shade that is till you start mixing those colors together and you go, that's it. That's what I was seeing. That's what I saw in my mind. This is like, hey, what am I after here? But that one, now when you go to that next phrase, just like you did, I went back to just a neutral tone. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden now you get a little bit of tonal variety.
Yeah.
The only other thing, there are 2 other things with this one. One, when you slam that E, it's not how hard you hit it. Yeah. It's how far you push it. Mm. Right? So you want to feel that string like move right under that nail. Yeah. And the same thing here. Right? Yeah. That's it. You want to feel those strings really push under your fingers. So if you've got the little bit, that's it. You hear it just pops right out of the guitar. Yeah. Now you can take it too far and it can be harsh. Okay? You got to decide for yourself. It says forte. It doesn't say fortissimo, it says forte. And forte on most instruments is not a beautiful sound. It's powerful and dramatic and all sorts of things, but it's not like it's not, not. It's a. So to me, if you want to get that thing to pop, just bring your fingers down a little bit, get more resistance, right? Yeah, that's it. So now you've got the string not fighting you, but providing greater resistance so you can dig in a little bit more. Right? If I do that here, it's not quite as effective. And the result is you get a dynamic and color that are in alignment with one another. Right? So this way we don't have to think about our colors in I'm loud so I should be bright, or I'm soft so I should be warm, because you can have loud and warm and you can have soft and bright. But what we start connecting with is I'm looking for forte. No, that's too much. It's like you go too far in either direction and you'll know. So finding where you get the best resistance on the string and the greatest impact. Yeah, see that's too, for me that's too warm for that crunch. Yeah, I want this. But I don't want to go into Ponticello land, right? Yeah, that's got a lot of impact, especially if you just came out of this. The only other thing I think right here in measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just make sure that this upper chord comes right on beat 3. So if you have 1 and 2 and 3 and.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah.
Came in a little early.
I was misreading that. I thought it was the and of 2. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
It was just a little squishy. There you go. Nice.
Yeah.
Now, when you go for, if that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, measure 9 is the one with the missing bar line. It's right at the end of the second line. You know, there's like a missing bar line there.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, it's like right before that F sharp GB. That's where you can. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that F sharp GB is beat 1. That chord is where you can now wind it back to that darker color that you had before, where you had. Right? And that way you can kind of bring it home that way. Small little thing. All right, number 3. The technique is going really well. All right, go ahead and start number 3 again.
Okay.
It's so short, I'm just going to let you just play through it.
Yeah, it's super short.
Good. You notice how I has a tendency to kind of not want to do what you want it to do?
Sometimes, yeah.
Like M is always there, right?
Yeah.
I, though...
It's not releasing as enough, maybe.
Listen to your articulation. That was good. You hear how those were 2 different articulations? They were very subtly different. Right. So we want to hear. You want to make sure you can hear clear, like you just played M. That. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I've practiced it a lot with planting.
Yep. Good.
I want to avoid that.
No.
Okay.
But see, what's happening now is that you're getting a different timing on your plant. So some of them sound like this.
Yeah.
Some of them, and then you'll do one that's like this. Then, where they're a little longer.
Yeah.
Right? So we're looking for that, if you want to be able, for this, that effect comes from, you hear how they're exactly the same.
Okay. Yeah.
And then as they get faster, that's how you get that level of control. So if you start playing them a little more legato over here or over there, we end up with kind of a few different ways of playing it. So I would say it's not staccatissimo, but you want to be able to hear a definite space in between each one.
Okay. And when I'm practicing it, try to do it evenly, like plant in the middle of the 2 notes. Okay.
Man, that was solid. That was totally uniform. Now as you get faster, it stays that way. So if things start changing as we increase our speed, that's when sometimes miss, or it hits the string in a way you didn't want. That's why. It's because that space between M and I on occasion is different. So if you can dial that in, as you get faster, it doesn't sound so staccato, right? Because there's no time to hear the space. Like, that's a way to drive your wife crazy. You just keep working that.
Yeah.
So that's my overall for 3, because the arpeggio was moving well. The sound control, the tone, I thought was very good, and the dynamics were clear.
Cool.
But that's how you'll get that kind of rolling effect, or the spin on your arpeggio.
Yeah.
Okay? 5.
Quickly, I'll just say
Yeah.
I'm not practicing tremolo very much these days, but there was one day where I was using it on this piece.
Yeah! Oh, it's great
So
for
much
that.
Fun. Yeah, yeah.
You know, if you were doing any types of tremolo, so you could even turn this into PIM, like that, if you wanted, or PIAMI. It's perfect for that, because you don't have to think about the left hand like this, right? We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just a fun, different sound rather than like always Spanish romantic music.
Yeah.
Like sharp, weird, 20th century.
Yeah,
Sort of thing,
oh, it's perfect for that. All right, number 5 I thought went pretty well. Go ahead and play the first 4 measures for me.
Okay. That's a little too loud. I think
That was good. Now, be cautious of if I, M, and A come down out of sequence. Right, so if they go down right now, you lose all the sustain.
Right.
Right, so after you pluck the thumb on the next downbeat, only I will go down.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right. Now, here's the next thing. So now you got the right hand squared. Oh, the only thing, every once in a while, you might plant more than one. That's all. Now, so wait until you're about to start the A, F, B to put your fingers down, so you don't hear that resonance stop early. Like that. See how all the resonance stopped?
Oh, yeah.
Because I put 2 and 1 down, just an 8th note early. If that's what you're looking for, awesome. I'm not sure if you're looking for that or if it's just happening. That's better. Yeah, so if we move our left hand fingers a little too early,
Yeah,
it makes sense because we're changing on the bar line, right? We're going. But what it does, it creates a slight shorter note on the inside, which is cool if, again, making active decisions, that's what you want. So if you want this, that's cool. But if you want this, that's moving them after I play the downbeat. So you get to pick. That's that's the cool thing about music. You pick. Both are fine. Measure 5. The only other thing here is just making sure that the and comes in right on the and. 1 and 2. E and
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. So as you go through, the and of 1 can get a little squishy. It can come a little early, and we lose the groove of the dance. But that. So if I do. So the and early, yep, can feel just a little bit too loose.
Okay.
But other than that, very, very good.
Cool.
Very good. So pretty much, I'd say now the first, and now 6 we can talk about a little bit more in the future. But I think the whole thing about 6 was just you started too soon. You weren't ready.
Yeah, I think I should
Just
played
take
it
your
earlier
time.
today. I wasn't like quite warmed up.
That's okay. I thought you did great for not being ready to do it. What I'd like to do now is, now you got 1 through 6. Let's like play through them once or twice a week. Maintain them. They don't have to be everyday things now, unless you're using them for a study.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I play them a little bit, but not every day. Yeah.
10.
Cool.
Because 10 is now, you want to go 10, 7, 9, 8.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, we're getting to territory where I didn't learn it years ago.
This is exciting, man. 10 is awesome.
Well, so we worked on 10 for a little while early on, but I don't think I finished it. So
Well, now's a great time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
If you want to go on to 7, you can, but I'd say just add 10 because of what you're planning on doing with performing more and bringing these pieces back up. Just add 10. But what I'd like to do for your next lesson, if that's cool with you, is to say, all right, look, Valse 3, we want to hear where that is and start making more refinements. Pick one piece that you'd like to have next week from your
Backlog or
from your repertoire.
Yeah.
That you feel like you've brought up to an agreeable point, or if there's something that's in there that's bugging you. Okay. I didn't need to do scales today because you're doing the studies. You're doing great. So Barrios Valse 3, a piece of your choice from your repertoire, and we'll start with Brouwer 10.
Okay.
If that sounds cool, I like it.
That sounds great. Cool.
Good.
Cool.
Do you have any questions, or is there anything in the chat or anything like that?
Let's see. So I put up the live stream for Patreon subscribers, and
Cool.
it doesn't look like we have any chat this time.
No worries.
So, yeah. Cool. Yeah, I don't think I have any specific questions. Just
Okay.
yeah. Thanks. I
You're
guess.
very welcome. You sound great. I mean, those I would certainly play. You want to come play those at an evening with guitar?
That'd be fun.
Okay,
I mean,
next one.
If I did evening with guitar, I'd rather do Valse 3. But
Okay. Well, let's check in on that next week. And we have October 3rd. I can't remember the November date. It's the first Thursday in November. So either one of those, I think, would be fine. But yeah, I mean, I'd love for you to come and do them just because there are so many people who are playing them.
Yeah.
That'd be like, oh yeah, I want to hear those, especially
True,
played that
yeah.
well.
Yeah, that's a good thing about the Brouwer studies. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much. Yeah, I don't think I have any other questions right now.
All right, man. Well, I hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you next Friday.
All right. See you
Okay?
next Friday.
All right, bye, everybody.
All right, thanks. Bye, Chris. Cool.